On the stream has started. Oh, good. I must be too picky. I never have found a sports headset that I like. That I like a lot. How about that? Don't want to disparage anybody. Okay.
I may have
Car
you
will.
switching the slides because it's come up, but when I hit either back or forward, oh, there we go. Now something's on there. Okay, all right. I thought I was doing something wrong.
No, you were moving it. You just couldn't see it.
That was it.
Oh, my hair's a mess today. I don't like it one bit. But hey, I'm an hour and a half drive away from my green room. Hi, everybody in the network. Hearing Kirk complain about what's that? Is that what Andrew does? Oh my! You know, he
Oh,
could check
wow.
that in checked luggage, couldn't he? Yeah, yeah. I love it. Green M&Ms too in the green room. Oh my goodness! All right, let me find the. Here we go. I need to share. Do a little more sharing here. Like and share publicly, and we'll share this also out to the broadcasting club. Let's get that group up and the broadcasting club, and there we will tag Mr. Bisset. Oh, Bisset, yeah, there you are. Okay, there we go. Done and post. Okay, good. Hey, we're just in time. Got a minute and 20 seconds before the show is scheduled to start. Ah, da da da. Do, do, do.
Who is
All
the
right, so
gentleman we're working with at Suncast? What is his name?
I'm not sure I understand you.
The guy that's
I'm
at
not.
Suncast that comes on here.
That's his name, Suncast.
Oh, okay.
Who's on first? Yes, that's his
There
name.
you go.
No,
Well,
the guy who's on first. Who?
I've recognized his voice, but I don't know his name, and I did not know that that was his name.
His name is a
Suncast.
big secret, so we all
Yeah.
call him Suncast.
Okay.
Yeah. Now his mother calls him by his first, middle, and last names when he's in trouble. Is that true, Suncast?
That's right. It's always us.
Oh. I don't know. Are you too old to get in trouble now? Hmm. Okay. Let me get to the HD radio page, and hey, it's top of the hour. It's 5 o'clock on the East Coast, so I guess we're about ready to start. I'm in somebody's way here. All right, there we go. All right. It is, what is today? The 29th of December. We're almost done with 2022. Can you believe it? I know that's so cliche to say that, but it seems hard to believe. I guess we've been through 12 months, so it's time. All right. With Suncast at the controls and our guest, John Bisset, in the on deck circle, we are ready to start the show. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello. Okay. All right. There we go. And it'll be This Week in Radio Tech, our 625th episode. Nice way to end the year on number 625. And we'll start TWiRT in 3, 2. Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone, this little one right here, to the light bulb at the top of the tower, somewhere out there behind me. Hey, I'm Kirk Harnack, and I am in the East Tennessee headquarters of This Week in Radio Tech, otherwise known as Stonecom. That's a big, important sounding name. I'm at a cluster of radio stations in Cookeville, Tennessee, and here visiting some friends, doing a little engineering work, and checking out some IP radios that are carrying live wire. So that's what I'm doing here today. Going to start vacation tomorrow. Woohoo! I'll see. Well, we're going to still do a show from vacation. So how about that? Hey, Chris Tarr is not able to join us today. He's still working on getting well, getting better. So he's relaxing. Hey, Chris, hope you're watching. We'll talk about you. So let's just go ahead and bring in our guest, and that is John Bisset. He's my colleague, he's my friend, and he's the columnist you know and love in Radio World on the Workbench column. John, welcome in. Good to see you.
Hey, Kirk, thank you very much. It's good to be here.
And I asked you to do a show near the end of the year, and you said, okay, how about right at the end of the year, the 29th? So here we are.
Well, I kept pushing it back.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have some vacation?
Yes, but ended up getting canceled.
Oh,
Good old
oh,
viruses going around. Yeah,
oh,
so
no, I'm
we'll
sorry.
try that again in January.
Well, I've got a little vacation scheduled starting tomorrow, and as we know, Southwest Airlines is having their share of troubles, and that's normally my airline of choice. So I think we're driving to our destination, and it won't be so bad. 13-hour, 13-hour drive, but we were going to have to connect anyway, so we're depending on two flights operating to get to where we're going. So we'll just drive there, and we'll come to you live next Thursday from maybe a beachy location. We'll see. We're not leaving the states, but we're gonna. Okay. Hey, so John Bisset is our guest. John, let's take a little preview of what you're going to be talking about. You've got 2 hours of the stuff, and we're going to have to cut you off after 1 hour. What are some of the things we're going to be learning about today?
Well, we've got a number of different things, Kirk. A lot of neat pictures that I think everybody will enjoy seeing. One of the best things I think that with the Workbench column is just the variety of ideas that folks provide, and it's not me; it's the folks that read the column that send things in. One of the things that I really like is the ones that say, "Oh, well, everybody knows this." Well, no, everybody doesn't know this. So if you've got an idea, something that's been working for you for a while, why don't you jot it down and email it to me? We'll have an email address, or you can contact Kirk and get it to us. One of the things that we're doing right now in the column is looking at what the three most important things are that are kind of unique that you use to keep in mind when you go to a transmitter site. And it's not just well, checking the transmitter. It's like checking the batteries, all the battery backups that you've got. We'll be showing a slide of that. But the idea
Hmm.
is to come up with some off the wall ideas of things that maybe you haven't thought about. And Kirk, I've got one of them here real quick. It's not a picture, but something that I saw a number of years ago, especially with all this cold, is to buy one of those kids sleds, just a plastic sled, and
Hmm.
keep that to be able to transport equipment from your car into the transmitter site. Just kind of a neat idea. One other thing that comes to mind with it is being as cold as it's been. If you're not buying or using Stanley's insulated pants, oh my gosh, they have got blue jeans that have maybe about a half inch of flannel insulation in them. And when I moved down south, I thought, well, should I give these to Goodwill? I held on to them, and boy, with the cold that we've had the last couple of weeks, they've really come in handy. But if you're out in the hinterlands in this cold weather, try to stay warm, these insulated pants are a really great idea, and they're made by the company that makes Stanley tools. So if you go on their website, you'll be able to find them.
What a great idea. And it's something that, I grew up never wearing or having insulated pants. And yet, my son, Michael, wears them quite frequently. His mother got plenty of insulated pants for him. And I'm thinking, isn't that kind of hot? Well, he wears them in the winter, obviously. But no, they're great. And I still don't have any. So I need to get some. I've just been always been the kind of guy that bundles up everything from the waist up, and as long as I got some warm shoes on, I figure my legs are okay. And for some reason, they typically are. But that's a great idea. Some insulated pants. We're gonna have more great ideas from John Bisset in just a minute. Plus, he's going to remind you about the kind of a contest he's running about wanting your submissions for things to check while you're at the transmitter site. And I may come up with a couple of those myself. And hey, you may have an unusual transmitter site, like, well, be sure you check behind the door for alligators. And I'm not kidding. What if you have a site that has seen an alligator inside the transmitter room? Well, you may want to check for that. Hey, our show This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by Nautel. And the Nautel Transmission Talk Tuesdays, well, those are over for 2022. But I want to remind you about Nautel's HD radio offerings. In fact, there's one right behind me here. I can't show it to you. It's in the other rack. But Nautel has this great importer exporter device that you give it audio in and it spits out IP coming out and travels over any IP path to your transmitter site. And that's a great way to easily implement HD radio, or more easily implemented. You don't have the split equipment. You've got it all right there. The HD Multicast Nautel Importer Exporter. And there's other items in the HD radio product lineup that really help you get HD radio on the air. Now, by the way, there was a Facebook post recently from Hal Neller and Kevin Trueblood, two people who have been kind of somewhat regulars. They've been guests here on TWiRT before. And Hal is out for a few months. He's taken some much needed R&R. But we're going to bring Hal and Kevin back on the show sometime in the spring of 2023, to talk about step by step how to put HD radio on the air. And Hal used to work at Nautel, and he's going to walk us through the process because, a lot of engineers did that 10, 15 years ago. And a lot of engineers haven't done that yet, including me. I've done little parts and pieces here and there, including a lot of audio processing for HD, but I've never done HD installation from front to back. And with the fourth and fifth generation equipment out there now, it's really a lot more stable, and there's a lot of very standardized ways to get things done in HD. So we're going to hear about that from Hal and Kevin, and we're going to talk about how Nautel products fit into that. So you're going to want to watch that. It's still a couple of months away, 3, maybe 4 months away before we get to that show, but I'll be reminding you about it. In the meantime, Nautel will be restarting their Transmission Talk Tuesdays. We'll be sure and tell you about that. But go ahead and go to the Nautel.com website and learn about all the offerings that they have, including HD radio. There's papers, there's webinars about it, and Transmission Talk Tuesdays about it. So you can get yourself educated even before we do our big show in the spring with Hal and Kevin. Thanks, Nautel, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. You can visit them at Nautel, Nautel, Nautel.com. All right, Kirk Harnack here at Stonecom in Cookeville, Tennessee. Was just checking messages here, and Tim Braddock has been here. Hey, Tim, good to have you along. Tim has been here doing a little bit of consulting work. Ed Bucant has been here as well. There isn't a full-time engineer here, so there's rather complicated setup here. And so Larry Stone has brought in a few good engineers here and there to get specific projects done. And I came by to do a little consulting. Larry's a friend, and I got to tell you, this is an example. If you're ever driving through Cookeville, Tennessee on I-40, it'd be a great time for you to stop by and just check this place out. 8 radio stations under one roof, and it's a pretty new building, and it's really, really radio done right. There are 4 fully wrapped cube vans, big cube vans out back that have all the station logos on them. If you walk in the lobby, you look around and you can look into the window of every single control room. It's identified by an on-air light with the station logo up above it. Got a great rack room here. What I'm getting at is I know it's tough to do radio right in tough economic times, but Larry Stone here at Stonecom has done an amazing job. There's also something that's really cool here, and that is there's a community room. So Stone Communications, Stonecom, makes a community room available for events. So if you want to have an event, of course, it helps if the radio stations are involved in some way, money raising for a charity, that kind of thing. We've had meetings of the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame for the board of directors of the Hall of Fame getting together here in that room. And so that's how I became acquainted with Stonecom here in Cookeville, Tennessee. Anyway, it's an example of a radio station that is well run, good sales staff, good technical operation here, and really efficient use of the on-air personnel. Also big into local sports, so they covered the local community. Larry Stone does local news himself on the air. So hey, there's great small market stations left, and if you need some inspiration, I guess I'm inviting you to come by, even though it's not my station. All right, we're here with John Bisset. John, uh, and your full-time job, you work for the Telus Alliance. We're colleagues there, but your sales
Yes.
area does not include where I am. You're west of the Mississippi, correct?
Everything west of the Mississippi, that's right, and, two of the benefits, it includes Hawaii and Alaska. So I'll just kinda throw that in there, especially
Yeah,
with this cold snap that we've been having. Hey, Kirk, let me pop in real quick on what you said
yeah.
about the station. I figured you were in a top 10 market with all, those racks behind you. That is really, really impressive. Folks, what Kirk said, if you ever get down there to see this, it'll blow your mind, and it's neat to see small stations, smaller market stations, make that investment and see it pay off like that. And what a neat
See,
idea for the community room. I think I'll
yeah,
use that at a
yeah,
workbench.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. And there are other stations that have had that too. You know, I did the show some years ago from up at Cadiz, Kentucky, and station there, Beth Mann's radio station. She's got a community room that's also a radio museum. So she's got radios from the beginning
Wow.
of radio up through current time, all lots of different models, hundreds of radios. We did one of our TWiRT shows from there. So there are stations that do this kind of thing. That really try to be part of the community, and that's important. Well, let's talk about being part of the transmitter and engineering site. So, John, you want to kind of start to walk us through your presentation here?
Yeah, sure. Well, let's start off with our first slide here, Suncast, and this is really kind of neat. We'll move on one more beyond that. The This station was moving to a new location, and a lot of guys, with what's been going on with the downsizing, if you will, of station sizes, had a lobby that they had to develop, and well, we can invest a couple of $100,000 in a consultant, consultant to come in and decide what to do. The engineer said, "Hey, wait, why don't we just stick three 60-inch monitors in the lobby, and we can have each monitor roll through some preset slides." What makes this really neat is they can add slides. So if a specific guest is coming in or a client is coming in to visit, they can show up on it. Anyway, I thought it was just a really neat idea that just goes to show you that you don't have to spend a lot of money to come up with something really sharp.
Nice, good deal. All right. By the way, here at Stonecom in the lobby, same thing. They've got big monitors set up vertically with pictures of their own personalities plus network personalities. So you walk in and you feel like you're in some place really important. And hey, nobody else is going to make us important. We're going to make ourselves important. What's
There you
next?
go. That's it. That's it. Well, the allure of radio is always there, that's for sure. Here's something I think our viewers will get a kick out of: freshen the air in the studios. Boy, isn't that something that's always needed? This is a 3M company. Filtrete makes these air filters. They're pleated air filters, but they really work great in studios and small surroundings because they've got a air freshener built into it, so it keeps the studio smelling nicely. I know there's not smoking or not supposed to be smoking in studios anymore, but just the fact that you've got a pleated air filter that will keep the air clean and have it smell nice too is something that you can give to your staff as a holiday gift. We'll call it that.
That would be nice to have your transmitter. If you could pick any smell, what smell would you have your transmitter site smell like? And don't say burning resistor. I don't think that's an available flavor, but not one I would want in my transmitter building.
I'm going to show you one of those in a few minutes.
Okay.
I think peppermint, and
Oh
the
yeah,
reason
yeah.
for it is peppermint or spearmint is that mice hate that smell, and that will
Interesting.
clear mice out of a room quicker than anything. So
Well, I hate the
anyway,
smell of mice. So all's fair in love and war and smell.
There you go. Absolutely.
So what's next? Can you click that, or does Suncast need to click it to the next
Yeah, I'm trying to click, but I'm not getting a whole lot happening. We'll try it again. There we go. Talking about wire management. Boy, Kirk, I wish there was a way that we could look at the back of your racks. I bet they are nothing like this.
one? No, these are really neat.
And that's one of the
Yeah.
things too that's kind of neat that AOIP does for you is it really does clean things up. As you can see, two wires, two Ethernet cables replace this whole bundle of wires. So I believe it was back maybe about 10 years ago, our friends up in Chicago at Moody were replacing studios, and they brought out something like, I want to say it was like 10 or 15 55-gallon drums of wire that they ripped out of there that went all the way back to the beginning of the founding of the stations, and replaced it all with AOIP, and it makes things so much easier. And something else I was having a customer discussion with the other day is especially if you're in an RF setting with a tower right out back, an AM tower or something like that, and you've got RF
Mhm.
issues, a lot of that goes away with AOIP because we're not looking at analog signals anymore. It's O's and ones, and there's no way that the transmitter is going to be interfering with that. So another plus for why you should consider AOIP.
You are so right, and I don't know if that advantage can be stressed enough. In fact, that was when I first started working at Telos Alliance. That was one of the first solutions that got put into place at a double AM station out in California, right near the coast. They had two 5 kilowatt AMs on site, and they were having horrible, AM interference problems. AM getting into and demodulated by the wiring, and in particular going into some computers that were doing streaming. And I said, let's replace let's not use the sound cards in the computer. Let's go AOIP. They did that. I wasn't on site when they did, but they called me back later and said, Kirk, it's a miracle. It got rid of all of the AM interference that was going onto our stream, and it's just perfect now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so, hard to give it another thought because you build stuff with AOIP, and it tends to work. I don't know that I've ever had any problems that were directly attributable to RF interference when I'm using AOIP. There's still best practices for grounding or using shielded cable in some places, but my goodness, it does work well. Good point.
Good. This was kind of neat. A lot of times we have cables that are kinked. What I'm thinking of is like AC cables. They're twisted all together and held with a wire tie. And if you ever need to straighten those out to get them nice and straight, this is a cheap and easy way of relaxing the cables as you put them on one of these sweater racks. And you can pick these things up at Walmart. They fit inside the dryer. They do not spin. They just sit inside the dryer itself, and you run the thing for 10, 15 minutes, and the cable will release and allow you the flexibility that you need for whatever you're doing with it. And I think a lot with remotes, folks. Wrapping cables up and cinching them really tight, and then you got to try to straighten something out. That can take a lot of time, so having them coiled and having them relaxed like this with the dryer makes a lot of sense.
Cool. Nice. All right. Next. Click, 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 click. Come on. Next one.
Well, I had to include this. I know some of the old timers have done this or should have done this, and that is screwing a block of wood and mounting XLR connectors on them to help you solder them. It's nothing fancy, but the ability of soldering these by having a third hand, if you will, by sticking the connector in there and being able to solder everything just makes for a much nicer experience. And hey, don't forget to put the shield on the cable before you solder it. How many times have we done that and get this
Oh,
beautiful
the back.
soldering job, and then and there's
Yeah.
the shell sitting there on
The
the
shell,
on
yeah,
the
the back
table.
of the connector. So, okay, I get it now. The first time I saw this piece of wood, I wasn't sure. I guess I was confused, but now I see. You're pushing the XLR body in there just to hold it still, so you can have it
Exactly.
held still while you solder it. Okay. Now, at first I thought, what kind of bulkhead connector is this guy doing? But now I
Yeah, yeah.
realize,
Bisset's
okay,
lost his
it's
mind.
it's a third hand. It's a third hand. Okay,
Exactly, exactly.
good deal. Good deal.
And then if we go on to our next slide here, I think we've got another example where this engineer did it for D connectors as well, put everything there.
Oh,
So again, this lays down and you can go ahead and solder the connectors, stick the connector in and go ahead and solder all of that. But then if we move on to the next picture, what I want to show you is even better, and that is why not retire the soldering iron.
oh
Kirk, I
yeah.
believe it's one of your sponsors, Angry Audio, makes these little dongles that are in every type of connector sex and shape and type, and you just plug it right into the Ethernet cable. So, and you don't have to be doing AOIP to take advantage of this. So,
Oh yeah.
if you want to have XLRs on either end and a piece of Ethernet cable in the middle, that's fine. But the point is, all of the hard work is done. And when we talk to people and they say, oh, well, we can get a studio built in a couple of hours, they look at you like you're nuts. I mean, it's in the days of analog, it would take weeks for us to wire all of this, punch all the wires down, solder all the connections. But with these little cable dongles, it's just a real breeze. And we've got folks like Angry Audio to thank for that.
Absolutely. And these are available through all the usual dealers. And
Yes.
I'll do an ad for them later on, but there are knockoffs out there, and hey, knockoffs, people build knockoffs to try to be cheaper. Well, there's a reason why the Studio Hub ones, well, actually pretty much nowadays don't really cost any more than the knockoffs. You may want to ask your dealer about discounts and what kind of deals you can get. But I got to tell you, these are so well built, and the folks at Studio Hub figured out how to make all that work into an RJ45 is actually not that easy. Some engineering had to be done so that stranded audio cable would go into a female RJ45 like you see there, or a male one, because you can also get the other sex. We'll talk about that during the ad, but yeah, oh man, these are great and really help you out. And you mentioned this, good for analog audio. That's what typically goes through them. You don't have to be AOIP. These were invented before AOIP came along. And so people used to wire whole analog plants using Studio Hub adapters to get that done and to make the wiring go really fast. And it was invented because Dan Braverman looked at Cat5 cable and watched a young kid wire up a whole radio broadcast facility for Cat5 on a contract basis, and Dan was still there, twisting wires and soldering things. Dad says, "What am I doing wrong? Hey, there's got to be
There
something
you
to this
go.
stuff."
Oh,
So,
what's wrong with this picture, right?
yeah, yeah. All right. Let's do one or two more, and then we'll take a quick break. What's that?
Well, speaking of adapters, the this GPIO relay adapter, again, this is available from your favorite dealer, not a bot yet. This plugs into the back of an X node or a blade for the GPIO contacts. And not that you have to do it, but gosh, when you're looking at soldering those little pins, and especially if your eyes are as bad as mine, man, I'm telling you, that's rough news to be sitting there and making sure you don't have solder bridges and that there are no cold solder joints. You just slap this right on the back, screw it into the back of the X node, and then the connections. They're actual physical relays, as you can see, and the
Yeah,
actual connections are
yeah.
made with wire that stranded wire that you stick under like a barrier strip type connection. So. Again, it's all to make it simple. The installation goes so fast
Oh,
and very, very reliable, which
hang on this.
that goes hand in hand with that.
Let's hang on this picture for a second, then we'll take a break. But so the first time I saw this, that you showed this to me, John, I didn't realize that yes, it turns the GPIO, which is a collector to ground type of affair, and that's fine for many, many, many applications. But sometimes you need a dry relay contact. You don't need to be tying to ground or referencing to ground. You got something that needs to float, or just for your ease of connection, just a floating thing is going to work better for you. And this does that. It turns the collector to ground GPIO, the GPO, the output, into a relay that is, I guess, floating, right? And you
That's
can
right.
so not that I'm suggesting you run 125 volts for a turntable motor through it. I'm not suggesting that. But but if you need to not have to worry about ground reference in hooking two things together to a GPO to start something, why there you go. Look at that. That's amazing. Hey, let's jump off the slides for a second, and we're talking to John Bisset. John joins us about 3 times a year or so. He's the author, the columnist that writes the Workbench column in Radio World magazine, and he puts a lot of these ideas in Radio World. You'll always find two, three, sometimes four great tips and ideas in his columns. He scours and scours to get ideas for us engineers to make our lives easier. And we're going to have more of those coming up in just a minute. This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by Broadcast Bionics. They're full of great ideas too. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Bionic Studio. The Bionic Studio brings all audience interaction to the fingertips of a production team in radio, TV and podcast. Our workflow-led system is working 24/7 around the world for small broadcasters and national and international networks. Our telephony module, Bionic Talk Show, allows cost-effective centralization, remote operation, scalability, and resilience across an entire network of stations, but at the same time is used in single-studio self-op environments. Social media curation and activity is now considered a broadcast-critical part of programming. Bionic Social means the studio isn't overwhelmed with a wall of interaction from an ever-growing number of social platforms. We combine SMS, MMS and email together with a speech-to-text service for listeners using smart speakers. We enable studio teams to curate, filter and display all platforms in one place and post text, images and video content to multiple platforms in one operation. Effortless collection of video content with Bionic Director has helped position some of the world's most successful stations as leaders in viral content, generating appointments to listen and free marketing via retweets and shares. Bionic Contest enables end-to-end tracking of on-air competitions, live reads and prizes. These could be on-air contests, automated SMS entry or online. Anywhere, and Skype TX for Radio brings high-quality audio and video contribution into the studio with ease. No need for dedicated PCs to run different applications. Everything is controlled within the Bionic Studio UI, and incoming connections are visible to users along with all other platforms. Our codec integration enables connection, algorithm configuration, and directory to a wide range of IP and ISDN codecs. The Bionic Studio, a unique suite of products designed to enable your talent to work smarter.
Hey, are we back? I don't know if I'm. Oh, wrong mic. Thanks a lot. I'll fix that. Yes, we're just taking a short technical break right here, and we'll get it fixed. Hang on. We'll change the camera and the mic and hit terrible video. Hang on a second. There we go. And let me see if I can fix it there. Okay. All right. Good. Good. Sorry, we got disconnected there. It's better, but it ain't perfect. Let me see if I can fix one little thing there. Make that look a little bit better. This is what we call technical difficulties. All right. Good deal. Okay. And this is the part that I pay Suncast for because he's going to cut that out. One of the many things that he earns his money on. Okay. So we're kind of back. And if Mr. Bisset is ready to go too, well, I'll do a countdown. And this
We're all set.
Okay,
Ready
good.
to roll.
Here we go. I'll tag the end of the spot, and then we'll come right back to the show. In 3, 2, Thanks a lot to Broadcast Bionics, full of great ideas to make your broadcasting better, especially with the social media integration and even the on-air stuff to, bring information right in front of your on-air talent. By the way, no matter where they are, broadcast studio could mean your studio at home. It works just about everywhere. So check it out from Broadcast Bionics. All right. Hey, it's Kirk Harnack, and this week in Radio Tech, I'm broadcasting from Stonecom Radio Communications in Cookeville, Tennessee. It's a beautiful, beautiful radio broadcast facility. Larry Stone is the broadcaster here and owns the place and has really put together a fine multi station cluster here in Cookeville, Tennessee. Does a great job. And he was kind enough to say, hey, you can set up right there at the workbench. And isn't that appropriate? And do your show. Speaking of workbench, John Bisset is my guest today. John, we're in the middle of looking at some ideas for transmitter and facilities and other engineering. So let's just head right back into some of your good ideas that we as engineers can benefit from.
That sounds good. We were talking about the GPIO adapter, and here's another one. Folks that have read the column know that I'm a big believer in labeling stuff, and I came across these. This is called Mr. Label, and what's nice about them is they will. It can be printed through a printer, but the adhesive is really good. Those things hold on. That's always been the problem, having to put heat shrink over your labels or some other way of affixing them so that they would stay affixed. But this works really, really well. So
That's nice. And I see that they're available on Amazon, maybe other places as well.
absolutely.
I'll try to put a link to this and inexpensive too. Looks like about 2 cents a piece in any kind of reasonable quantity.
There you
So,
go. Exactly.
all right, cool. What's next?
One of the things to keep in mind if you are doing AOIP, but even if you're not, just to organize your cables, if you've got cables that you're adding or subtracting cables to the bundle, is using these Velcro wire ties instead of plastic wire ties. You can affix them to the side of the rack, as you can see in the right-hand picture, and the Velcro hooks and loops allow you to wrap around the wire and support the wire. But then if you have to add a wire or pull a wire out, you can unroll the Velcro wrap, remove the wire, add the wire, whatever you're going to be doing, and then roll it back up again. So it just keeps everything really nice and neat. So you're able to follow wiring in your facility. Back in the day when we were wiring everything up and cinching it with wire ties, and then you'd had
Mhm.
a wire to add or had to pull a wire out. Most of the time, when the wires had to be removed, they were just left in the bundle. So I mentioned earlier about the Moody experience of removing all of those barrels full of wire when they went to AOIP.
Mhm.
This is something that having something like this where you can remove wires as you need to, but you're not going through 500 clipping 500 plastic wire ties makes a lot of sense.
John, I got to tell you, I have been slow to move to Velcro ties, and at my own peril. And here at Stonecom, I was asked to move a couple cables around the back of the rack. We were trying to follow where some IP radios were connected, and it's all Velcro ties back there. And oh my goodness, my eyes were really opened literally today. Like, this is really easy. I can, I took a few off, found the wires looking for, put them back on, and now everything's just as neat as it was. And I didn't have any waste, didn't have to clip any wire ties. It's it Yeah, I'm sold. I'm sold. I have bought some. I just haven't been implementing them as I should.
Sure.
I do carry them around now. They're in the back of my car, but I will be definitely using them everywhere I
Well,
go.
that's good. And also if you want to look at it from the waste standpoint, I know the plastic ties don't cost that much, but you go through a couple of hundred of them, and you can only use them once. They're thrown away. These can be used over and over and over again. So and you can see from the length of those cables or the Velcro, you can get a lot of wires in there. So if it's even one or two wires, or if it's a bundle of 50, you're able to get them all cinched cinched in there together. And Kirk, that's another thing talking about AOIP is you don't want to disrupt the strand and the layout of the wires inside the Ethernet cable, and that's something that a wire tie, a plastic wire tie, can do. Especially if you cinch that thing down real tight, you could
Oh yeah.
disrupt that, and that may cause some failures or some issues with the AOIP signal. So using the Velcro is a little more friendlier than the plastic wire ties, and that's neat to get your endorsement from them.
By the way, if you throw away enough of those plastic cable ties, they end up in the ocean. You're going to strangle a turtle. So that's on you, buddy. So yeah, that's
It's a
use the
good point.
Velcro ones. Even ZZ
There
Top
you
said
go.
use the Velcro tie. Oh no, they said Velcro fly. Never mind.
Flat.
That's a song. That's a song from the
Absolutely.
'80s. What's next?
Yeah, good. Well, this one is one of my favorite pictures. This engineer asked me to always show this when I do presentations because he was just so frustrated. He was stuck between a rock and a hard place. The electrician wanted him to use corrugated conduit. He wanted regular conduit, and the price of the regular conduit was probably twice the expense. And so the manager said, no, we're going to go with the corrugated stuff. And as is always the case, okay, we're going to let you do this. And then the engineer is the one that has to figure out how to use it. It's great for pulling the first couple of wires through, but once you get these cables in there, trying to pull another one through because of the corrugation and the way the cables lay inside the pipes makes it almost impossible to use again. So a great idea, but it's one that went bad. If you have a contractor that's trying to talk you into using corrugated conduit, maybe find another contractor.
Well, that corrugated stuff, is a little bit flexible, so it's got its place. If you're running a big conduit over to like a generator that vibrates, yeah, you want
Sure.
something that flexes a bit, and they make conduit for
Yes.
that. But yeah, I can't see running audio cables through that. Ugh, yeah.
And in this case, you can see each one. I think there were two conduits that went to each studio. So all
Mm.
of this dumped off in the ceiling of the rack room, which it was fine. But just trying to figure out which conduit went where. Boy, I don't know. It just there's got to be a better way of doing it.
Hey, you don't need one of those tone warblers or fluke testers. You just have somebody yell in one end, "Hey,
There
I'm in
you go.
Studio
That's right.
5."
Absolutely.
And you got to see where it's coming from. Use your stethoscope to see which one of those it's coming out of.
There you go. There you
All
go.
right.
That'll work. Okay, let's look at some things. You mentioned the transmitter site, and Kirk, before we start on this, I wanted to tell you a quick story that I think everyone will enjoy. You were talking about alligators behind the door. I had a customer who was down the deep south, and lots of alligators down there. He and another fella were building a transmitter site, and there was an alligator that was roaming around, and he was feeding them their sandwiches or marshmallows or whatever. And what they would do, the door to the transmitter building was a big steel door, and he'd go up and bang on that door, and that was the signal for the alligator to come and get fed. So anyway,
Oh.
they had two cars. One of them decided, okay, let's go out and we'll just take one car and go to lunch. So while they're at lunch, the phone company shows up. They see a car in the driveway. It's like, okay, somebody's there. What do? They go up, the door's locked. They start banging on the door. They turn around and the alligator is there with his mouth wide open. When they showed up, the phone guy was on the hood of his car, just scared out of his wits. So, the things that happen to
Oh,
engineers, you couldn't make this stuff up. It's just amazing.
oh, yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah, they should train the alligators or something. Blow a whistle, something different that's not going to happen every day. Oh my
Well, I don't think they
goodness.
ever thought about, well, the door was steel, and so banging on it reverberated, made a lot of noise, and
I don't.
I don't think they
I'm
ever thought about, well, somebody's going to come knocking on the door, and this is
look.
what's going to happen.
I'm
So,
not. I'm not the brightest light in the harbor, but you start telling that story, and I knew exactly how it was going to end. Oh my
It's just
gosh.
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. What's next, John? What's next?
Let's see what we've got here. Okay, your transmitter site. That is not trick photography in the left-hand picture. That tower actually looks like that, a serpentine tower, and is a good example of why you want to make sure that you've at least visually inspected your tower periodically. The FCC, the teeth for the FCC have pretty much all been removed, but one thing that they still have domain over is site safety. And if your transmitter fence looks like this going around your tower, you can guarantee you're going to get a violation and more than likely a forfeiture if they find out about it. So walk along, make sure that you've checked your fences, and make sure that there's not a problem with fences not being secured at your transmitter site.
Now, see on that tower, had they used straight conduit, non-flex, then maybe that tower would have stayed
It
straight.
became flex.
That's right. And I always like the phrase that the insurance industry uses to describe the risk of a tower, and that is a tower to an insurance company is nothing more than an attractive nuisance. An attractive
Boy.
nuisance. How about that?
Well, Kirk, I've heard some engineers referred to as in that same manner.
That's what my wife calls me. You're an attractive nuisance. All right, what's next? What do you got for us as the hit parade
Let's see.
continues?
Okay, these are some transmitter site gotta haves. I put this in here just if you're putting a list of things together, make sure that you have a spare fan for your exciter. Very few exciters will operate without a fan blowing air in there. So having a spare going to cost you, I don't know, 20, $30 maybe, but maybe even less if you go to Granger. Even if it's $100, if it keeps you on the air, it's important. Spare fuses, very important. um, Klein cleaners are the same as baby wipes. They probably cost a lot less. These pre-moistened towels, so you keep them in a sealed container, and if you need to either wipe your hands off or wipe something up in at the transmitter building, you've got the supplies to be able to do that. A trouble lamp and spare bulbs, specifically the LED type, and a first aid kit that is well stocked. And my last one is my favorite, and that is because I'm tired of getting down on my knees working in the bottom of a rack or a transmitter, and it's bubble wrap to protect your knees. Roll that over a couple of times and kneel down on that, and it makes the crawling around on your hands and knees a lot easier. Also, it's kind of neat if you put a piece of this down in the bottom of a rack and you're disconnecting connections or screws or whatever in the rack. The little nooks and crannies of the bubble wrap will keep the parts from bouncing off and being lost. It's a lot easier to find them.
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess tradesmen who have to work on their knees, like if you're doing flooring, if you're doing plumbing,
Mhm.
anything where you got to be down on your knees, they bring knee protectors. But as engineers, we don't really think about that. We don't use it. We don't have to get on our knees to do some work that often. But when we do, oh man, especially when you're as old as most of us are, it's nice to have some protection and bubble wrap. What a great, you know, oh, hey, I don't have knee protectors, but let me grab some bubble wrap. That you can usually find some of that laying around. Look for an Amazon
There you go.
box. You might find some
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh, all right, next.
Okay, the word here is backup, and if you've got a generator and you're using it as a backup, but you're not inspecting it and you're not testing it on a regular basis, it may not back you up. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers have had this where they've had a backup generator that didn't work, and there's nothing more humbling, I guess, in meeting the general manager and finding out that, hey, we lost power and the backup generator didn't provide power to keep the station on the air. I know of at least one instance where an engineer was dismissed because of that. So if you've got backup equipment, test it regularly and just make sure that it's working. And
You've
this
also,
next slide will give you an idea of why you
yeah,
want to do this.
okay.
keeping all of the grass, vegetation clear from around the generator. Not
Uh,
only does this make it easier to get to, but also allows the vents to be clear, so you're not sucking weeds and things like that into the air intake that will be causing a problem with cooling the generator engine. And we go to the next one. This was really kind of neat. In this particular situation, the generator was suspended about 2 feet up in the air because it was in a flood zone. And of
oh,
course, you don't want to have a generator sitting on the ground if the area is prone to flooding. Problem is that that underneath part of the generator is open. So what this engineer did was he used the hardware cloth, stapled that to the frame, and if we go to the next slide, you'll be able to see the reason why. You can see that the hardware cloth is protecting anybody or anything from getting up underneath. And when I say anybody, that includes someone who wants to steal your battery. If it was wide open, they could just crawl up underneath there, reach up and disconnect the battery and take it from you. It's a little harder if you've got some deterrents like the hardware cloth in place.
good deal. Good deal. Hey, John, let's take another quick break. We're talking to John Bisset, author of the column Workbench. And John joins us about 3 times a year or so to talk about great ideas. John's going to remind us of the little contest he's got going on for early in 2023. He's already gotten some submissions on that. We're going to hear about that in just a minute. This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store. And they're great folks there. I've got their number memorized. I'll prove it to you. And their website is bgs.cc. And of course, you can get Innovonics products from Broadcasters General Store. Innovonics, well, I have recently at some of my stations, we've bought some Innovonics products to monitor our streams, to also as a rebroadcast FM tuner. But they also have a new line, a couple new FM modulation monitors that also monitor your HD. We're going to hear about those and be right back.
Hi, this is Gary Lerman. I'm Sales and Marketing Manager from Innovonics. I'm joined here by our President and CEO, Ben Barber, and we're here to tell you about 2 new products that we're very excited about. They're HD modulation monitors, the model 551 and 552, and Ben's going to take us through some of the features. Ben, what can you tell us about these?
The 551 has the big display, 7-inch touchscreen display. You can look at different parameters instantly by walking up to it and touching it, getting information that you need. It also has the LED displays for FM total modulation, left, right, FM, HD 1, 2, 3, and 4. The other thing that the 551 has is that it has full-time audio outputs on Studio Hub connectors on the back, both analog as well as AES digital. So you've got FM, HD 1 through 4, they're full-time. The 552 doesn't have the display, doesn't have the metering, and doesn't have the full-time audio outputs, but the web interfaces are identical for remote viewing and monitoring.
Great, thanks very much, Ben. These products are going to be available in January 2022. Contact us at innovonicsbroadcast.com for more information. Thanks very much.
And those are available now, and you can contact Broadcasters General Store, 352-622-7700, or go to the website, bgs.cc. Really great folks there. Shane Finch is the new general manager at BGS. He's been there a while, and I tell you, they got a great operation there. So check them out. Get your broadcast supplies, equipment, even some video gear, lighting, and little cameras and that kind of thing, all from BGS. Thanks a lot. All right, we're talking to John Bisset. I'm Kirk Harnack, broadcasting today from Stonecom Communications in Cookeville, Tennessee, and it's a really fantastic facility. I love this place. Larry Stone has built an amazing small town, multi-station broadcast facility here in Cookeville, Tennessee. I first became acquainted with this place because of a meeting of the board of directors of the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame that I was invited to come to, and well, now I'm on the board, but whatever. It's a great facility. John Bisset is our guest speaker, and John, let's roll right back into some of your good tips for engineers. What's next?
Great. Well, we were talking about the importance of keeping your generator running. Just a few things for us to think about. Check your hoses, check them for cracks. Squeeze the hose between your thumb and your fingers. It shouldn't be hard or brittle, it should give, and you shouldn't see any cracks when you do this. And if you do have cracks in the hose, replace them before the hose itself breaks.
Okay.
And when we were talking about hardware cloth, that half inch by half inch mesh, this screen is available for all kinds of neat things, especially intakes, air intakes, not only on the generator, as you see here, but for the transmitter building itself. The normal spaces are big enough for a mouse to get inside, but no mouse is going to get through that half inch by half inch notch. And in this case, the engineer just used self-tapping sheet metal screws to hold the hardware cloth in place. So this stuff is very readily available and very easy to use. Takes maybe an hour or two to cut it up and put it in place, but it will save you a lot of problems and headaches.
Good deal. Mhm.
So, what's hiding in your pipe? As you're looking around your transmitter building, look for any kind of entry point where vermin or insects or anything else can get in. And when I say anything else, we'll go ahead to the next slide.
Oh, Rocky
That
Raccoon.
is a raccoon that decided to fall asleep permanently atop the exciter. And this engineer pulled him out, and gee, what a mess. But where things really get bad is when these rodents will get inside and start urinating and defecating on the equipment and inside the equipment. You don't want to be cleaning that stuff up. It's just a real headache. So prevent them from getting in the first place. And we
Mm,
can go to the next
wow.
slide. So some successful tools. We talked about this, I think, the last time I was on your show, Kirk, and I've gotten a lot of positive response on this. This is actually a tiny USB endoscope, but it will work with the iPhone or Android phone. You can purchase it on eBay for under 20 bucks. That's a little lighted camera at the end of that coiled wire, and then it will
Mhm.
display the picture on the iPhone or on the Android phone. So if you've got something behind, say, a tube socket, or you need to get down inside a tube socket to see what's going on, this is really ideal. And what's really nice is then you can snap those pictures. If it's something you can't identify, you can send it to the transmitter manufacturer if it's a part that needs to be replaced, and they are able to see exactly what it is that you're looking for. But for the price, really, really great.
Okay. All right.
And if you have a little more money, this is really nice. The FLIR adapter plugs into the smartphone, and it turns your smartphone into an infrared camera. It's a little pricey, $250, but we'll go to the next slide and you can see where it can be so useful. You mentioned Nautel. Our good friend Jeff Walton took a picture of me sitting at my computer, and that's what you see on the side there. So anything warm is going to show up as red. And where it's most important is on the right-hand picture, where you can see this electrical panel box where
Mm,
there is a breaker that is overheating. And you can see the other breakers inside there are not red, but that one is bad and is going to eventually fail. So wouldn't it make sense for you to find this problem out now rather than when the transmitter breaker fails and takes everything down, or if it catches fire? One of the things that's kind of neat that you can do if you buy one of these things and you do contract work is charge your contract stations whatever you feel would be a fair amount for you to go through and do survey of all of their electrical boxes and all of their transmitter connections. So you can shine the FLIR sensor on rigid coaxial cable where the pieces of coax meet. What's really good with that is that if a bullet is starting to fail, it's going to be hot, and you'll know it very quickly. So it's more of a, I guess, a preventive measure that you're taking, because I don't know many stations that would want their transmitter or studio sites to burn up, but that's exactly what can happen if you don't. If you're not aware of these problems before they actually turn into a failure mode.
I wish those infrared cameras were as inexpensive as the endoscopes. That'd be nice if they were, but they're
That would be
they're a
nice.
little
Well,
pricey.
they
Yeah,
were the prices are coming down, Kirk, which is good. A few years ago they were even more expensive, but
yeah.
you can get them now for just a couple of $100. And I think I spoke with one contract engineer, and he told me, he said he made the money back in just a couple of inspections.
Oh
And he
yeah. Okay.
found breakers that were bad. So not only did he get the repair work out of it, but he got the blessing of the general manager or the station owner that, golly, you really saved us, because this thing could have really caught fire and caused a lot of problems.
Yeah. Okay.
You're talking about less expensive stuff. This is not a picture, but it gives you the actual temperature in degrees. Fluke makes this thermometer, infrared thermometer, for $100, and again, it's good for just giving you a baseline of your RF connections and your transmission lines, electrical breaker boxes. Where they're really useful with this, and also the FLIR, is inside phasers and ATUs, being able to look at the components and see if any of the phaser components are about ready to fail.
One thing I'll point out about these is they use uh I can't think of the right words. If generally speaking, if you point this at something that is flat black in color, it's going to be very accurate without any adjustment. But if you point it at things that are shiny or not flat black, there is typically an adjustment chart included with these type of thermometers uh, to make up for the different black body characteristics of whatever you're taking the temperature of. And so if you just go around your house and try different things, I've found that if I just shoot my wall with flat paint on it, it seems to be accurate. It seems to be about what the air temperature is, right? But yeah, I guess my point is, if you want to take the temperature of a shiny object, maybe it's better to think about it in terms of relative temperature. You know, shoot the temperature on a part that you know is not overheating, and then move to the part that you may suspect, like where the bullet would be. So all I'm pointing out is you got to be careful with how these things work. They work differently on different surfaces.
No, those are really good points, Kirk. And I've heard engineers, you can get this vinyl that is black, and it's curled, and they'll take it and wrap it around the coax cable,
Oh,
especially because what's shiny? Well, copper coax or brass coax is real
yeah,
shiny, so that's going to be a problem.
that's a great idea. So it'll do heat transfer, so it will warm up. If the thing is running warm, but it also works fine
Exactly.
with the IR, laser style
Yes,
thermometer.
that's right.
Yeah. You know what? I was sick and I couldn't find a real thermometer around my house, so I have tried my IR one on my own forehead. I'm not sure I got accurate results or not.
Hey, but at least you tried it. That's the best part.
And usually
Hey,
it'll
Kirk,
read
let me
lower than what the temperature actually is. So yeah, yeah, go ahead, John.
No, that's true. I was just going to say, jump in real quick and tell you about this little contest that we've got going on
Please do. Yeah.
in Workbench. Take a second before your next break. Um, we've all gone to transmitter sites, and we all have our favorite things to check, like Kirk's alligator behind the door, or snakes behind the door. The point being that there's something unique in every transmitter site, and I'm trying to come up with some of the best unique things that you found at your transmitter site, or if you go to several different sites. This is one thing that I always will check, And so send that in to my email, and we're going to be featuring all of those a little later on in the year, probably in, I would imagine, February or March. But we've got a few neat prizes for the very best ones. So give yourself a chance. And excuse me, if you're SBE certified, having any tip published in a national or international trade magazine counts toward your recertification. So if you're one of those folks that think, oh, everybody's heard of this problem or everyone's heard of this fix, so I'm not going to send it in, you'd be surprised. We will like to see it, and certainly get it out to the masses so everybody has an opportunity.
John Bisset is our guest on This Week in Radio Tech. The last one, this is the last one of the year. Next week, I believe Frank Foti is our guest. Going to be talking about some really interesting things about surround sound and the instant creation of surround sound to kind of put you in the concert. Hey, This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by Angry Audio. Don't get mad, get angry. This is the headphone disconnector. And I got to tell you, I have fixed so many headphone amps where the jock got up and pulled on the cable and broke off this quarter-inch tip ring sleeve connector in the headphone jack. Well, this just comes right apart. Like it's kind of like the Apple MagSafe connectors. So just put this in line. It's got the female quarter-inch tip ring sleeve and the male quarter-inch tip ring sleeve. Just put this in line with your headphones, and voila! If you get up and walk away, no problem. It just pops apart, goes right back together, and it only goes back the right way, so your left and right audio won't be messed up. It only goes back the correct way. This is also available in the 3.5 millimeter jack size, and if you need to, they're even interchangeable. You can take the 3.5 millimeter female and swap it with, you know what I mean. You can make whatever size that you need of those two. So that's the headphone disconnector from Angry Audio. Of course, they plug right into headphone amps from Angry Audio. This is the one that I like because it's nice and smooth. It won't snag your pantyhose. This is hanging underneath the console. It does have both sizes right there, the quarter-inch and the 3.5 millimeter. It can be nice and loud, and it's easy to hook up because it uses the Studio Hub standard for analog audio and powering these. You can power 3 of these in a row with the power supply that you can get, and they just daisy chain together. So this is a great solution. If you want something that's kind of built in and custom looking, well, you've got this Decora style headphone amp from Angry Audio. This was originally part of the Studio Hub line, and they're continuing this. You can wire up to 4 of these together and power them with a Studio Hub power supply. And it's got, again, both kinds, country and western. No, I mean quarter-inch and 3.5 millimeter right there on the front, and a nice volume control too. So these are great headphone amps, headphone disconnector, and the whole Studio Hub line available from Angry Audio. Check them out at angryaudio.com. And then all of their products are available from your favorite dealer. So call your favorite dealer, specify Angry Audio or Studio Hub, and get your best price that way. Hey, This Week in Radio Tech is also brought to you by my friend Josh Bone at Max Connect Wireless. This is the wireless solution that gives you a static IP address and prioritized data in 4G LTE areas, which is just about everywhere. Here's Gary Morrill to tell you more about it.
I'm Gary Morrill, Midwest Regional Director of Engineering for Alpha Media. When I first spoke with Josh Bone about Max Connect, he told me they'd work great for remote transmitter sites where connectivity was a challenge. And he's absolutely right. We even have sites where we're using this as a backup to our STL using Max Connect's dual carrier option, and it works perfectly. We also have times where we need to be able to get out to a venue where it's kind of challenging because everybody and his brother is trying to stream video at the same time, like at a big sporting event. And you know what? Our data gets through every time because it's prioritized packet data. It works for us. It'll work for you. Max Connect. Check it out.
Thanks, Gary, for talking about Max Connect Wireless, and thanks to Josh Bone for coming up with this great idea and putting this into good practice for broadcasters. Check it out at maxconnect.com. There's the website, and we have links in the show notes if you don't, or if you're not in a good place to write that down right now, or check it out right now. Hey, it's Kirk Harnack. It's episode 625 of This Week in Radio Tech. John Bisset, the world famous author and columnist for Radio World Magazine, is here. Plus, he's a colleague. Yeah, yeah. He works with me at Telos Alliance. All right, John, we got just a couple more minutes. What would you like to wrap up with and talk about?
Well, we'll see what our next slide shows, Kirk.
Okay. Oh,
This
yeah.
is a Fluke Volt pen. We'll go through these pretty quick. This is just an inductive pen that it's about $30 at Amazon, and if you get it anywhere near AC voltage, the tip will glow red. It could save your life, especially in a case where you flipped a breaker and it hasn't really flipped, and you're about ready to reach inside. We'll go to the next slide. Jolly Tool LED flashlights. You've seen these things. These are great, especially having one of these right inside the door to your transmitter room. So if power is out and you're coming in there late at night or something like that, you know you can grab a light and you know it's going to sit there and work. And the next one. Here's another example. This one is a little bit larger. It's from Lowe's. What I like about this is it's got a hook on it, so you can hang it from wires or from a cable tray or something like that. Give you a good idea of light. And one more here. We mentioned the battery backups. This is in a BE transmitter. The symptom when this battery dies is everything goes to zero. And the solution is to raise the power. But if you're not familiar with this, you'll sit there troubleshooting it, trying to find where the trouble is, and you'll never be able to find it because it's just that everything is, the memory's been wiped out because the battery has died. So on a regular basis, at least once a year, don't forget these microprocessor battery backups, and many times they're located inside the equipment. And these next two slides are ones I'd like to end up with here. The mouse infestation, I mentioned the peppermint smell. Bonide makes this device. It's called Mouse Magic. They're actually little packets, and you scatter them around. I think there are 2 or 4 that come in the pouch. You scatter them around. They last a couple of months, but the mice hate that smell. It'll make your transmitter site smell nice and pepperminty, and you will be eliminating all of the mice in your transmitter building. So and you can find this at a garden shop. I believe Lowe's and Home Depot sell them as well. But this is probably one of the best things if you don't like mice and don't want them around your transmitter building. Probably one of the best investments you'll make. And Kirk, I think that'll wrap things up.
Hey, when we're out of time, too, I want to mention my own tower crews. Worked with the tower crew today. Great, great tower crew, smart guys. And I asked them to take some pictures. Sometimes with the tower crew, they don't always think of that first, right? Ask them to take pictures. And so I got pictures from the tower of some equipment up there, some IP radios, but I had to ask. I had to ask. And so, don't assume that the tower crew is going to take pictures. You may have to remind them, hey, take a picture of that thing you're up there. Or if you feel like they're not describing something exactly right or the way that you think it ought to be, well, they got eyes up there. They got a camera up there. So get your tower crew to take plenty of pictures. It doesn't cost anything. They can text them right over to you. But again, you might have to remind them because it doesn't always come naturally to take pictures up on the tower, especially if you might drop your phone. So you got to be careful about that. John, thank you so much for joining us. Would you mention your little contest one more time? What would you like people to do?
Sure. What I'd like to do, the email is real simple, JOHN, the letter P, BISSET at gmail.com. There it is. You can send your workbench tips to this address. And also, if you have your 3 must check things at your transmitter site, make sure that you send those to the same address. Really appreciate all of the folks that both read the column and submit ideas and tips. The column wouldn't be what it is without you, and I'm forever in your debt because they all say, "Oh, it's John Bisset's column." No, it isn't. John just compiles all these tips, and it's just really, really neat to see the outpouring of love, I guess we'll call it, among the engineers to be able to share these ideas with others. Back in the days, Kirk, when you and I first started, we probably had an Elmer or a someone who was helping us learn as either an apprentice or an assistant or whatever. And those days are long gone. So most engineers don't have that benefit or that luxury anymore. So the pages of Workbench become very important for them. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to send us the tips and look for them. And as I say, if they do get printed, make sure that you include that with your SBE recertification so you can get some credit for it from the Society of Broadcast Engineers.
John, I never had an Elmer. I had to teach myself, and I'll tell you, I just had to get shocked enough times to where so I could figure out where all the electrons hang out. That's how
Well,
I did it.
when you were talking about high voltage on those relays, I was thinking of 110 volts on Belden 8451. Remember?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I found that several times. Yes,
Yes, I think we
absolutely.
all have.
Yeah. No, I had to walk uphill both ways to the transmitter site, there and back, in the snow. Yeah, with no shoes because we couldn't afford them.
And pulling the sled.
That's pulling the sled. Now the sled's a good idea. That's a good idea. Hey, we got to run. John, thank you for joining us. We're going to see you next year. Remember, next Thursday, Frank Foti will be joining us to talk about some of his cool ideas that he's doing now, kind of beyond the world of FM and AM audio processing, but in the whole surround sound world. He's come up with some amazing algorithms that are bringing breathing new life into audio. We've heard that phrase before. Really cool stuff, though. Check them out next Thursday here on This Week in Radio Tech. Thanks again to Suncast for producing today's show and to Andrew Zarian, the owner of the GFQ Network. Appreciate you. We'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech.